What's up, Benfica Nation? Welcome to a very special double episode of Mr. Benfica tonight. And tonight we're going to talk about the men's and the women's team. So it's a double episode. It's episodes 121 and 122, and they start right now. What's up, Benfica Nation? Welcome. Episode 121 starts right now. I am the Mr. Mike Agustino, and I am here for you on this Monday night talking Benfica. Like I said, this is a double episode. If you're watching live, YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook, we are live right now. And we're starting off in this first hour. We're going to talk about the women's team tonight and what they accomplished over the weekend. They are on their way to the second round of qualifying in the UEFA Women's Champions League. And if any of you followed along with me, I did post links to the games when they were available. And if you watched, I have to start off right off the bat saying what a nightmare of a production for this Benfica women's round in the UEFA Women's Champions League. I'm going to go to the YouTube right now. The first game was only available on YouTube, okay? And it was Benfica playing against Kiryat Gat, and this match was in Sarajevo, okay? At the National Training Center of Sarajevo, okay, or of Bosnia, I should say. Their national training center. Now, BTV, for whatever reason, did not just simulcast this stream off of YouTube like they did last year. I don't know why. This would have fit in perfectly before Benfica's men's match against PSV. I don't know why they didn't do that. They were showing they were showing one of their studio shows. It wasn't even a pregame for the men. It was just a studio show. But let me tell you what kind of hit this Benfica women's match was. I'm going to share the screen with you. Actually, I'm not going to do that because they're going to take my stream down if I do that. But I'm looking at where the match posted. Okay, the match was played live on SFK 2000 Sarajevo's YouTube page. That's where you had to go to watch this match. I did find it minutes before kickoff. And it was Benfica taking on Israeli champion Kiryat Gat. Okay, SFK 2000 Sarajevo currently has 617 subscribers to their YouTube channel. Okay, their own match against Kiryat Gat, which was this past Saturday, had 970 views. Benfica versus Kiryat Gat, my friends, 21,000 views on SFK Sarajevo's YouTube channel. That's how big we are. We just broke their record for views of their men's or women's team. Basically, that channel had never seen so many views. And quite honestly, this was a horrible broadcast. Literally, it took me back to the old days. It took me back to my days as as a staff coach here in the United States at the third level in the USL, and a lot of the scouting that I'd used to do either there or even as a high school coach here in the United States. I enjoyed the scouting. That was one of the things I really enjoyed doing. Watching this match looked like one of the scouting tapes I made myself with one camera in the top row of the bleachers in a small stadium. That's really what they had. They had one camera, no commentary. So I had no idea who the players on Kiryat Gat were. Absolutely no idea. Okay. It was a fuzzy picture too. It was not clear even who some of the Benfica players were at times. But at least we had a stream, because I would have lost my mind if I didn't have a stream for it. So let's start off there. Okay, let's start off with that match. I'm bringing it up here on my Sofa Score because they have the stats there. As I pull that up here, it was just a difficult match. I mean, the first match, I wouldn't say it was difficult, but Kiryat Gat were playing a very defense-minded, their methodology came out very defensive, and Benfica, like they're used to seeing, okay? It was not that different from what we normally see in the Liga BPI. And I'm going to bring up Benfica's lineup right now. I'm pulling it up. I'm just having a little issue here on my phone pulling it up. But Benfica came out in this match, and they knew they had to win. So let me just refresh you on the format this year. It's a different format. It's a new format, and it's only for this year. So it was UEFA put these teams in pods of 4 for this round, okay? Round 1 was really 2 rounds, not 1. It was a Final Four. There were 11 Final Fours, okay? I think it was 11. Final Fours spread across Europe with one host team in each pod. Benfica were in a pod, and they played in Sarajevo. Why in Sarajevo and not at Seychelles when Benfica were clearly the best team in this well, actually, I'm going to answer my own question right now. Benfica were not the highest-ranked team in the UEFA coefficient, but they were by far the best team in this pod, okay? And they went into these matches here, and we'll start with the one with Kiryat Gat. I have now the lineups here. We'll start with the visitors, or not the visitors, but our opponents on the day, the Israeli champions, Kiryat Gat. Okay, their average age is 25.9 years. Their goalkeeper was Fortuna Rubin, 4 in the back, and they're 4-3-1-2. They played a pretty defensive formation against us. And Nicole Ratisi is the right back. Lior Edri is the center back, along with Carol Arruda, a Portuguese name there. I believe she is actually a Portuguese player. They actually had a play. I'm going to double check that, but it doesn't tell me. But I'm pretty sure she is actually a Portuguese player. Shahar Nakav, the left back, 3 in midfield in the 3-woman defensive midfield. You have Alina Metkalov in the center with Opal Sofer to her right and Sandrina, Brazilian player, to her left. Genevieve Mebelek is in the number 10 position behind the 2 strikers, Peace Efi and Yarden Ozel. So Felipe Patão comes out, rotating the squad off the bat. I like the way she did this. I think she scouted these teams well. I think she knew exactly what she was up against. And she basically rotated the squad. They played a little different than we're used to seeing this Benfica women's team play. They went to a 4-3-3 with changes from what we normally see. But I liked it because the team was fresher and stronger on Saturday. Is it a gamble? Yeah, it's a little bit of a gamble because you got to win the first round match in order to get to the second. And they called this all round 1, like I said. But it was really a Final Four format, and of which each 14 pod, 1 team was going to come out. Okay, so Benfica would line up this way in the first match against Kiryat Gat. Average age 24.2 years, a very young but very entering its prime Benfica side here. Lele is the goalkeeper as usual, and I can't even stress how much better this team got when Lele came in and became our goalkeeper. This team went from good to very, very good just with that one change. And then you add in the addition, the switch from Luis Andrade to Felipe Patão as manager, and this team blew up. I mean, those 2 decisions won us the Liga BPI last season. So, and the reason is Lele is so good with her feet, and she can play so far out of the goal. She knows that the competition does not have the players to beat her from 60 or 65 yards. So a lot of times when we're attacking, she is only 5-10 meters behind the midfield line. She's always there as an option to pass. It's almost like she plays exactly like a flying goalkeeper in futsal, and she's always there in support. And Benfica are able to really dominate the tempo, the rhythm, and they are able to possess the ball in these matches the way they want. It's like they have an extra player because this goalkeeper can do all this for them, and the competition is so far just not good enough to punish us for that, whether it be in Portugal or even in Europe, with the exception, of course, of a team like Chelsea, who last year, knocked us out. That's where we went out in the round of 32, was to Chelsea. But even then, I can't imagine. We would have been much, much closer against Chelsea had we had Lele in the team and if Philippe Paton was managing the team. I firmly believe that now after 6 months or so of proof and of evidence of seeing how the team plays, with those two additions, those two changes, it would have been a much, much better round against Chelsea. And I spoke on Twitter to some of you, and I think it was Dave in the UK there that said that even Chelsea, if we drew them, it wouldn't be the same as it was last year. We're far better now. And I agree. And remember, we were playing with some players at that time that we no longer have, and our goalkeeping was probably our weak link last year in the Champions League. So now with Lele, like I said, we are a whole lot better. So moving on, the four in the back for this one, the rotation looked like this. Matilde Fidalgo, famous for being the cousin of Bernardo Silva, gets the start at right back for this one. Ana Sesa moves into the starting lineup and partners with Carol Costa. And Lucia Alves gets the start at left back. Okay, only one change. Well, a couple changes there. So Felipe Paton decides to rest Silvia Rebelo and Catarina Amado in this one. So in midfield, Pauleta gets the start as always in the hole in the number 6. She is so good at that position. And in this match, she has Beatriz Cameron to her right and she has Andrea Faria to her left. The attack in this one, Ana Victoria gets the start up front, partnering with Nicole Raisla and of course Canada international Chloe Lacasse, the star of our team, Chloe Lacasse. No question about it. So that's the 4-3-3 that Felipe Paton puts out there. And Benfica come out. They dominate. There's no question about it in this first one. Completely dominant. Okay, completely dominant against this Israeli side. However, with all the dominance, unable to break down this stubborn defense from the Israeli side. Of course, there were some real good opportunities. Chloe had a great opportunity in the first half that she squandered. Also, Nicole, not quite at her level that we're used to yet. Nicole getting in good positions, but her finishing left some to be desired in this one. But again, a lot of good movement, and also noticeable by her absence in the starting 11, of course, is our other real star. And the future star of Portuguese women's football, Kika Nazaré. Okay, so she stays on the bench in this one too. But again, Portugal I'll give you some of the statistics for this one. And actually, SofaScore doesn't even have much of the statistics available here. But again, Benfica just had the ball all the time in this match. They were moving it. They were passing it. They were connecting the passes. They were making runs, overlapping. You're getting good work from both outside backs. Lucia Alves continues to ascend as a left back. I mean, she's not Sporting's Joana Marchão yet. That spot in the national team belongs to Joana Marchão. But Lucia Alves is really ascending and climbing and getting herself in position to take over that spot, or at least to compete for that spot this season. Of course, you see on the screen, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I talk about how I was tweeting during this game. It's at Mike Agostinho. That's at MikeAgostinho. And you can follow the show at Benfica Mister. Those are the two Twitter handles, okay? And during the women's games, I'm usually very active. I don't always like to be active on Twitter while games are going on because I feel like I miss stuff. But this match, I had no commentator. I'm watching this. So I'm watching the processes of the build-up and watching the runs Benfica are making and watching, the way they're lining up defensively, having to figure it all out, with nobody really doing the commentary. And I'm watching this during work, mind you, no less. During work, I'm watching this. So I have one eye on the match over there and my other eye is over here on my work computer. So again, this was brutal to try to sit and watch and analyze. But finally, we come out in the second half, okay? And we get 3 substitutions at halftime from Felipe Paton. And I think this was the plan all along. I don't think this was due to what was going on in the match. Okay, at this point, we had already known that SFK Sarajevo had been eliminated. Okay, we knew that Racing of Luxembourg had already won. For whatever reason, the home team played early in the day, in the hotter part of the day. Also, we had two cooling breaks in this match, which is kind of funny to me because I went and looked at the temperature at that time online in Sarajevo. It was like 79 degrees. I thought it had to be a little, and I'm talking, of course, in Fahrenheit. In Celsius, I'm not sure what that is. I don't go ahead and put it in your Google machine, and I'll tell you what it is in Celsius. But it's not that hot. It's hotter than that every single day here where I am in New England, in the northeast corner of the United States. So funny. I thought it was funny that they had cooling breaks in this one. But anyway, 3 substitutions made at halftime by Felipe Patão. In comes Kika Nazaré, no question. She replaces Beatriz Cameron. Catarina Amado, one of my favorite players on this team. I'm always blowing up, hyping up this player because I love the way she plays this game. And, I love the way her family is so supportive. Her family is really supportive of this show also. They have reached out to me, though they don't necessarily understand all the English that I speak. They don't understand English quite enough to understand some of the jargon and some of the slang I might use, but they're very supportive of this show. So I want to give a shout out to Catarina Amado's family, especially her aunt Tita, who is a good friend of the show. She comes on from Matilde Fidalgo, and our new signing. This girl is good. I mean, our new Brazil international signing, Valeria Silva, replaces another Brazil international, Nicole Raisla, and it doesn't take long. And finally, in the 52nd minute, Chloe gets taken down in the box. She gets cut down. We got a penalty. So when all else fails and when we were struggling to find the back of the net, struggling to find that final piece, that final delivery, and the final touch into the goal, we get a little assistance from the other team. They take down Chloe in the box. Up steps Ana Vitoria to take the penalty kick. Makes no mistake. Benfica take the lead 1-0 in the 52nd minute, and it was only 3 minutes later that Chloe sets up Ana Vitoria for another goal. And Ana Vitoria quickly doubles. Okay, she doubles her tally, opens her scoring this season with 2 goals here in the space of 3 minutes in the second half. Benfica 2, Kiryat Gat 0. Kiryat Gat will respond by making a substitution. In comes Keren or Irdi for Yerden Malka Ozel. We get another penalty kick in the 59th minute, again drawn by Chloe Lacasse, and this time the Canadian takes the ball herself, puts it down. She decides to take the penalty kick, however, her kick is a little too soft and a little too far into the center of the goal. The goalkeeper, Fortuna Rubin, does not guess. She waits, she reacts, and she's able to reach and save it. So the score remains 2-0 at that time. And a little disappointing for Benfica because they could have made it 3-0 there, and it could have been really game, set, match at that point. And disappointing, of course, for Chloe, our top scorer last season overall. And, she's going to want to be the top scorer this year, and she's going to get competition to be the top scorer because I think Kika Nazaré, being in the team and being in the starting 11, being the key focal player that she is from the start of the season, she's going to score a whole ton of goals this year in the Liga BPI. I mean, she led the team in the second phase last year, in the championship phase of the Liga BPI, but across the entire season, both phases, the qualification and the championship, Chloe Lacasse was our top scorer. Now, this season, there's none of those phases. It's a traditional league, okay? Each team is going to play each other twice, and the champion will be crowned on the final day in the Liga BPI. Back to normal in the Liga BPI. Last year was kind of a modified season, a modified format for the season due to the previous season having been cut short. So on comes Valeria, like I said. Chloe makes up for her missed penalty kick, though, by setting up Valeria with her first goal in a Benfica kit on her debut. The Brazil international Valeria, the new number 7, scores 3-0 to Benfica in the 69th minute. And Felipe Patão continues to rotate the squad a little bit. In comes Maria Negrão for Andrea Faria, a like-for-like swap in midfield. And what's nice is a homegrown player for a homegrown player. It's all good. I love seeing the way this team has developed from the youth level into the first team. And now we have a core group in this team that is all homegrown. Okay? We have a core homegrown in this team. Okay, they've come through the ranks. Some of them have even come through the U19s, through the B team, into this first team. And it's been great because they have displaced internationals. If you've watched the way that this team has evolved over the 3 seasons or 4 seasons it's been in existence, three seasons it's been in existence, okay? It has evolved. We started off by buying a bunch of international players, and one by one, our homegrown players are going and replacing them, okay? We had Yasmin and we had Diane as our 2 outside backs, remember. They've been displaced by Catarina Amado and by Lucia Alves. These were players we paid a lot of money for. Darlene, our first captain and our first top goal scorer. Once Kika came on the scene, Darlene is now at Flamengo. She went back to Brazil because her salary no longer was warranted when we're developing our own talent in-house. And her playing time was diminished. She had an injury too. Darlene had an injury. But in that opportunity, young Kika steps in and she's not giving that spot back. And speaking of Kika, it is Kika in the 40th minute who gets a ball from the substitute Maria Negrão. Kika makes it 4-0 to Benfica. And already the second match of round 1 is in sight, the final of this little pod. Benfica see out the result in a match, again, well managed. The minutes were well managed in this one by Filipa Patão. I really, really, really like the way she manages and coaches this team. I like the tactics. I like the methodology. I like the psychology she uses. I like the intent that the team has. Very much on the front foot, no matter who they're playing. Okay. So Benfica advance. As I said, Racing had already beaten Sarajevo's SFK. So we move to that match now, and it's Racing FC Union from Luxembourg versus Sport Lisboa Benfica, again in the National Training Center in Sarajevo, Bosnia-Herzegovina. The lineups in this one, okay, starting with the Luxembourg, the champions of Luxembourg here, Racing FC, with some... this game on BTV, by the way. So the huge spike the SFK Sarajevo YouTube page got from that first match came way back down to earth because people were able to watch this on BTV, but all they did was take that YouTube feed, put it up on BTV, and have Valdemar Duarte call the game, do his play-by-play. So Andrea Burton is the goalkeeper for the Luxembourg side? The side from Luxembourg. They play 4-2-3-1 as well. Or I should say it's slightly different than what Kyriakat played. Alexia Richards is the right back. Priscilla Rinaldi and Catherine Thorny are the 2 center backs. Kimberly Dos Santos is the left back. And Valdemar Duarte points out the Lusophonous names in the team. He's not saying that they're necessarily Portuguese, but the names are Portuguese, meaning they're coming from, Portuguese-speaking parts of the world, or their roots are. And we do know that Luxembourg was a destination for Portuguese immigration, not, a generation ago. And a large portion of the population in Luxembourg is Portuguese, so it's very, it's not surprising to see some Portuguese names on some of these players. Double pivot in midfield, Caroline Kaur and Edina Kokan in the center, while Elodie Martins, Francine Idoa, and Julie Wojila make up the attacking midfielders behind the striker Marlies Ndomkuk. For Filipa Patão, she makes a couple changes. Like I said, the average age of this first 11 goes from 24 point change to 25. So still, we have a very young team, a very good core, when we have a whole slew of players about to enter their prime. Lele in goal, of course. Catarina Amado returns to the starting lineup. She's in as the right back. The usual center back pairing is back as Silvia Rebelo replaces Anita Saisa, and she partners back up with Carol Costa, while Lucia Alves is once again the left back, and she has solidified herself in that spot, no question. When she was in Benfica the first time, when we signed her from Valadares Gaia, okay, she was a forward. She played up in the front. And much like Diogo Gonçalves and much like Gil Dias, that Benfica mentality or that Benfica wisdom, if you want to call it, it goes all the way back to Miguel, way back in the early 2000s, and then Fabio Contrão, João Pereira. Okay, these are all players, Nelson Semedo, all players we took that were forwards and turned them into very good outside backs. No difference here on the women's side with Lucia Alves and with Catarina Amado, to be honest. Catarina Amado was also once upon a time a forward. Now she's a wingback and a very good one. And for me, the best one there is in Portugal. And she should have been, and going forward should be, Portugal's starting right back. She is a lot better than Monica Mins. She is better than Ana Borges, no question about it. Okay, plus you can play both of them if you play Catarina in the back and Ana Borges in front. So Francisco Neto, the national team manager in the upcoming international window, has that. But for me, he has to start playing Catarina Amado each and every match in the national team. She has surpassed the rest of the right backs in the team. In midfield, Pauleta, as always, in the hole. Ana Vitoria slides back from forward to midfield in this one and plays next to her on the right. Andrea Faria once again starts on the left. Up front, Kika is inserted in the striker role. It's a front three. Valeria replaces Nicole in the starting lineup, and Chloe returns as the left forward. And this one was a lot less of a strain on the psyche, a lot less of a strain on the heart in this one, because Benfica got on the board right in the second minute, okay? And it is the one I was just talking about, the one I dare say approaching world class. Catarina Amado. That's right, Catarina Amado scores. The right back gets a goal in the second minute on a feed from Pauleta. Benfica take the lead early, 1-0, very, very early. And the side from Luxembourg is completely shocked. Their whole plan is out the door. The park the bus mentality. The deep lying lines that they saw the Israeli side do successfully enough to stay in the game as long as they did. Just wasn't going to work for them. And a lot of hard fouls from this side from Luxembourg. Julie Wojcila will see a yellow card in the 16th minute, but there was a whole lot of fouls. Valdemar Duarte at one point in his commentary says, well, they tackle hard, but they don't tackle well. They get the player every time instead of the ball. But that really was what it looked like. But in the 21st minute, Andrea Faria with the ball feeds Valeria Silva, and the Brazil international adds to her tally here in her first season, in her first weekend in a Benfica kit. And must I say, I got to pause here for a minute to say just how phenomenal Benfica look in an all-white kit. Both matches they played all white, as both teams were wearing colors that were in color conflict with our red kits. But they didn't wear the black shorts. This was a weekend of the white kit. And I have to say, I love Benfica in white when they're not in red. I love watching Benfica play in white when they are not in red. And then we saw the men over the weekend play in the white shirts with the black shorts. Those look good, but they don't look Benfica. The women played in the white shorts with the white tops. It was phenomenal. They looked fantastic, and they played fantastic as well. This game, they really took to this team, really controlled. They were the boss in this one, and a couple of yellow cards for Racing in the 33rd and 39th. First, it's Kimberly dos Santos in the 33rd, and then Elodie Martins in the 39th. In the 40th, yes, the crack. She comes up big. The star, the future, Kika Nazaré scores in the 40th. And she scores in the 42nd as well. On the 42nd minute, she was set up by Chloe Lacasse. Count it. That's 3 assists for Chloe already this season. And Kika, that's 3 goals for Kika as well. So they're off to a great start. Benfica go into the halftime go into the halftime team talk with a 4-0 result. Book your trip to the next round, to the round of 32, I want to say it is. We're one step from the first ever Women's Champions League group stage. And Philippa Patel, once again, is going to get the squad rotation going because it's a lot of minutes in a short time. You know, the season's still a bit of a ways away. We're not playing twice a week the way the men are here. So she's got to get minutes for everybody. So it's like a hybrid of preseason / early season football. So she's rotating like it's, like there's fixture congestion. And she's also treating it in a way like preseason to me because she's trying out different things. Especially when you're up 4-0, it's time to experiment. It's time to learn something. So in comes Marta Sintra for Lucia Alves. And in comes Nicole Raisla for Ana Vitoria. Ana Vitoria puts in a total of 135 minutes across these two matches, plays all of the semifinal, and then plays half of this one. Nicole played all of the previous one. She's going to play half of this one. So it very much tells me that the minutes are being managed in these matches. A couple more Luxembourgy players come in. Is it Luxembourgy? Is it Luxembourgish? Is it Luxemburger? I don't know what the exact demonym is for a person from Luxembourg, but Claudia Veloso replaces Adina Kokan, and Katerina Teixeira replaces Alexa Richards. Another yellow card for Racing. It's Francine Idoa in the 60th, and then more changes for Benfica on the hour mark. Again, like I said, this says minutes, minute management, load management, whatever you want to call it. Christy Ochebi comes in. Almost didn't recognize her with her long hair. I think she's wearing a weave. I'm not sure. Is that something? Can you play football in a weave? She had real short hair last season. Now she's got long dreads. Almost didn't recognize her. She replaces Kika. Maria Negrão is in once again. She's replacing Pauleta. And Beatriz replaces Andrea Faria. So all 5 substitutions made by Felipe Patão within the first hour. For Racing, they're going to make a couple substitutions of their own. Betty Noel comes in for Kimberly dos Santos in the 72nd, as does Gabriela de Lemos, another Portuguese name there. She replaces Julie Wojila, and Chloe Luthart replaces Marlies Nubdunk in the 80th minute. In the 90th now, with the match starting to tail away. I don't know why the referee in a match like this that was so controlled, why she had to give so much stoppage time. I know the rules. However, it was 4-0. She decided to give a whole ton of stoppage time here. And in the 90th, Nicole makes it 5-0. The Brazilian opens her goal scoring tally for 21-22. And Priscilia Rinaldi goes in the book at the same time for an attempted foul, if I remember correctly, at 90+2. 90+3, it's Beatriz Quemirão off the bench. The young midfielder makes it 6-0 to Benfica. I wish this was an aggregate we could carry with us into the next round. And before we're done, 90th+4, Valeria does it again. 7-0 Benfica. And that is how it finishes. Benfica advance to the next round. And I'm going to pull it up here. And if you give me just a moment, we'll go to the competition's Wikipedia page because the draw results are there. And we'll see what the matchups look like in the next round. Not just for us, but for the rest of the competition as well. We are literally, people, one step away now from the first ever UEFA Women's Champions League group stage. They've never done a group stage before. This is historic. But one thing, UEFA, you got to do, enough with the virtue signaling, okay? You've got your slogans on your boards. You wear it on your captain's armbands. The inclusion, the equality, that's all great. You got to practice what you preach. You got to put your money where your mouth is. You got to invest 1%, 10% of the fortune you bring in that UEFA Men's Champions League. Put it into this competition so that we get some reliable telecasts. Produce these matches the way you do the men's tournament. This was an embarrassment from a production standpoint. No offense to Sarajevo SFK 2000, the Bosnian champions, who put together all the production of this on their YouTube channel. It shouldn't be their responsibility. It shouldn't fall on them. Again, had UEFA played this pod at Seychelles, BTV would have produced it, and it would have been top-notch. It would have been top-notch. All 4 matches would have been top-notch that were played. Instead, they played this in Sarajevo, and they don't give them any type of, support in production. No. UEFA, you need to take production, create a world feed, and send it out. It's going to cost you some money, but it's worth it. Show that you're dedicated to actual equality. One thing that pisses me off is people who think equality is just a slogan. They think it's just a sign or a flag, or it's a tweet, or a filter, or a picture on your profile on social media. That's not how it's done. Put your resources, put your time, put your efforts into actually achieving that. You can start by putting the UEFA production quality that you already have into this competition as well. Okay, you do it in the later stages. You can do it in these early stages, in these first stages. These players deserve that. They have qualified for this competition, which is the top club competition for women's football in the entire world. This is the top in the entire world. And you leave it up to somebody to record this on a camcorder, basically, on a handheld, it almost seems. One camera, that's all you had. That is unacceptable in my opinion, my humble opinion. That is unacceptable. I've done production of matches before. I did it when I was a student in school. I put together better broadcasts than that with 2 cameras. Even I had 2 cameras, for crying out loud. Okay? Even I had 2 cameras with no funds. When I was in the USL PDL, we had no money. We live streamed all our matches, and they came out better than that. Okay? We had commentators. UEFA put a world feed. You can use YouTube. That's not the problem. But give it that UEFA production quality. Okay, I'm going to put up on the screen now for those of you watching. Those of you listening, I'll just read it to you. But I am going to show you right now what the draw looks like for the next round of this Champions League. Okay, and it is round 2. And you can see it says the draw for round 2 was held on the 22nd August 2021. Central at 13 hours, Central European Standard Time. First legs will be played between August 31st and September 1st. Second legs between the 8th and 9th of September. And the winners advance to the 16-team group stage, which already have 4 teams in it. So, Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, and Chelsea already in the group stage. So if my math is right, we're going to get 12 more teams out of this next round to join them. So in the Champions path right here, which is our path, here are the matchups, the 7 matchups in that path. So we have here 7 and 5. That is 12. Yes. So 12 teams will advance and join the 4 teams already in the group stage. So in the first matchup, it's going to be Sparta Prague taking on Koj of Denmark. Osijek of Croatia will take on Breoblik of Iceland. Vilznia of Albania will take on Juventus, obviously, of Italy. And here's our matchup, everybody. FC Twente of the Netherlands, one of the big women's football nations. We couldn't avoid everybody. We didn't get Chelsea like we did last year at this stage. Last year, this was the round of 32. We didn't get Chelsea this time, so we're better. The opponent's not quite at that astronomical of a level. Even though I'm sure they're very good, they do not have the wage bill Chelsea has. Okay, they don't have the same financial investment. There's no way, because Chelsea invested a fortune in that team last year. So Twente versus Benfica, first leg in the Netherlands, second leg at the Seychelles. See, that first leg is going to be August the 31st, next Tuesday. Okay, and then on September the 9th, 2 weeks later, Or is it 1 week later? It might be 1 week later. But anyhow, it is in the second leg will be at Seychelles. Big test for Benfica. And let me tell you, I think it's an achievable thing. I think it's fair enough to dream. It's fair enough to hope. I'm not going to say expect. Okay, I would put the Dutch side above us just on experience and just on the quality and the level of the league they play in versus ours, with all due respect to our league. I do think that this is something we could pull this off. The first leg is going to be vital in the Netherlands. I hope there's supporters, and I hope the Portuguese Dutch community, the expat community, comes out and supports Benfica in this match. Okay, I know there's fans there. I have listeners in the Netherlands. I know this. I see my own analytics. I know I have listeners and viewers and readers from MrBenfica.com on from the Netherlands. Guys, get to this match. Support these girls. Support Benfica. This is huge. If we can get into the group stage of the Champions League, we're one of the best 16 in Europe. How quick. No one expected an ascend that quick from this team. This club, only founded this department, this women's football team, a little over we've only played 3 seasons, and one of them was cut short due to COVID. And here we are on the verge of the UEFA Champions League group stage. This is huge. And I think this team has enough quality. I've now watched enough women's football to know that these players are as good as we think they are. There is a lot of quality there. We got Brazil internationals, a Canada international, Portuguese internationals. We have the core of the next generation of the Portuguese national team. We have a slew of girls with experience playing for Brazil. We have a Nigerian international. Okay, we have a player like Pauleta that if she was from anywhere but Spain, she would be in their national team. Spain, one of the very strong national teams right now. Very, very strong team, and I think we really can give it a go here and put ourselves among the real titans, the real sharks, if you will, in European women's football. I'm pulling for you, girls. I know you can do it. I know either way this team is going to make us proud. They always have. They have always put their best foot forward, and they have always left it all out there, because I talked about this last year when they lost to Chelsea, when they lost both legs. By lopsided scores, they still made us proud in those matches. They played hard. They played smart. They were just overmatched. But again, this year we've got Lele in goal. We've got a goalkeeper at that level. We have a Champions League level goalkeeper, a Brazil international. Some say she should be Brazil's number 1. She's definitely the backup. Okay, we have a very good opportunity here to make some history. The rest of the Champions Path, Apollon Limassol of Cyprus taking on Kharkiv of the Ukraine, while Servette Chinois of Switzerland take on Glasgow City, the seemingly always champions of Scottish football. It's about time the old firm get involved and invest in their women's teams. This Glasgow City, which is a women's only club and was founded specifically to be that, has been champion for quite some time. I remember seeing them all the time in this competition. And Norwegian champions Valerenga take on Swedish champions BK Häcken. That is the Champions Path. Now in the League Path, just like in the men, it's the League Path. These are runners-ups from the top leagues. It is even runners-up in some third places. Be glad we are in this path and we are in the Champions Path and not in the League Path. I mean, there are some heavyweights here, none bigger than the perennial powerhouse. Yes, they did not win the UEFA Champions League or the UEFA Women's Champions League last season, but they had won the previous 7. And I'm talking about Leon. They draw a Spanish side, Levante. First leg in Spain on September the 1st. Second leg in France on the 8th of September. A WSL side, I believe they were the third place finishers last season. Arsenal take on the Czech side, Slavia Prague. Again, the first leg in London on the 31st of August. Second leg in Prague on the 9th of September. How about this one? This is one, I hope this is available on television or at least on CBS's on Paramount Plus here in the United States, wherever the Women's Champions League is streamed. They need to put this as a massive matchup. Look at that. These are two giant brands that are investing in this game, investing in women's football. I love to see it. They're helping. They're doing their part to grow the game. Real Madrid versus Manchester City. You don't get more recognizable than that in this tournament. That is mouthwatering. The first leg is in Madrid. The second leg in Manchester on the 8th of September. Another perennial powerhouse from Germany that is usually in the last four of this competition. It's Wolfsburg. They're taking on the third-place side from France, Bordeaux. And the final matchup in the league path is the Swedish runner-up, Rosengard. They're taking on the third-place side from Germany, 1899 Offenheim. All right, my friends. That is this segment, and that is episode 102 if you're listening on the podcast. Thank you for listening. If you're watching live, thank you for sticking with me, and I will be back shortly with episode 122, and that is, of course, a breakdown of this weekend's Benfica match versus Gil Vicente in the Liga B win. Liga Portugal B win. All right, so we now know. Also, to close up this segment, let's take a look at what's coming up for Benfica in the immediate future. In addition to that match, they have the Portuguese Super Cup match, which I'm going to try real quick here and get a date on for you. SofaScore doesn't have it up. Valdemar talked about this on the broadcast, okay? And the Federation's playing funny games like they usually do. It's all about money for them. They're able to sell some tickets, I think. The Super Cup's going to be played in the Restelo in Lisbon, the home of the real Belenenses, not of Bissad, the real Belenenses. And the problem with having this Super Cup this year is that the Portuguese Cup was canceled last season. I didn't get to this because it happened after the season ended. The Portuguese Cup was canceled at the round of 32, I want to say. Okay? So there is no cup winner to go into this Super Cup. However, last season, during the calendar of last season, in January of 2021, we crowned the winner of the Portuguese Cup 2020. If you remember, and I think you do, that Benfica were in that final and we were beaten. And beaten well by a strong Sporting Braga side. Okay? Shout out to Dave Pereira if you're watching or if you're listening. Shout out to you. You're usually, you're a great supporter to have, and I always love your feedback. And again, I have so much respect for Sporting Braga as a club. And they won that cup. Their women's team won the 2020 Cup. There was no Super Cup played last season because there was no champion from 2020. You follow me? There was a cup winner in 2020, but no champion. The reverse is true of 21. In 2020, 2021, there was a champion, but no cup winner because the cup was canceled. Why they couldn't pick it up this season and crown a cup winner in the first half of this season and then do the new cup in the second half of this season beats me. Maybe the teams that are in it just can't field teams right now. I don't know what the state of amateur football is in Portugal right now, amateur women's football especially. But there should be nobody to play against Benfica in this Women's Super Cup match. But leave it to the Federation not to invite the 2020 winner who didn't get their opportunity to play in a Super Cup. No, they give it to Sporting Lisboa, Sporting Clube Portugal, the team that lost the title on the final day of the Liga BPI. The team who then fired their manager and released half their team, released half of their Portugal internationals. Yeah, Ana Capeta. She just got released again by PSV, by the way. Last time we saw her, she was flipping Benfica the bird on her way off the pitch moments before we lifted that trophy and won the Liga BPI. So the FPF in their wisdom say, let's make a Clásico, right? Because these teams don't play each other enough. Let's just give that spot to Sporting, who didn't earn it. So I'm looking it up right now. FPF Supertaça Feminino. And I know they talked about it, and I got to say that is absolute garbage from the FPF. It really, here it is. So it's Benfica versus Sporting. And let's see if we have a date for it yet. On Saturday, August the 28th. Okay, so this coming Saturday, which sucks for me because I'm traveling home Saturday. I'm going to be on the road this week. So the DVR is going to be rolling, no doubt. Hopefully BTV covers it because I can't DVR Canalons. That option's not available in their app. But Saturday, August the 28th, we got Benfica versus Sporting at the Gestil. And it is the Super Cup that Sporting did not even earn a place in. So what do I think about that? Real quick, I'm gonna preview that for you. I think Benfica's coming out with their strongest lineup. Okay, we're gonna see this team that played against Racing Union here. Okay, we're gonna see Lele. We're gonna see Catarina Amado. We're gonna see the usual center back pairing of Carol and Silvia. We're gonna see Lucia Alves on the right. Okay, the midfield is gonna be it's gonna be Pauleta, Ana Vitoria, and Andrea Faria, in my opinion, with Kika, Chloe, and either Nicole or Valeria. It might be Valeria. She's in better form right now. Sporting was gutted. Okay, you're not going to recognize some of the names. They have had to promote from within. They brought up the B team manager. Okay, the Sporting B coach is the new manager. Susana Cova was sacked. Again, Inês Pereira, she was let go. Maybe they've re-signed some of these players since then, but Inês Pereira, the goalkeeper, let go. I believe Ana Borges was let go. Nima Jankovic, the captain, let go. All these players were rescinded. All of these contracts were rescinded. Ana Capita, at this point, is a free agent. If I'm not mistaken, Ana Borges is out as well. And Fatima Pinto and Andrea Pinto, I think they're all gone. Some of them may have come back now, but I'm pretty sure that they were all released of their contracts, all rescinded. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I expect Benfica to put a hurting on Sporting. I expect them to stomp them. I mean, Sporting's gone out and made a few signings, but I expect Benfica to stomp them on Saturday and send the message early. Now, that said, last year they stomped us in the beginning of the season, remember, with a 3-0 thumping at the Tapadinha. Okay, they came into the Tapadinha in the first phase, in the qualification phase, and they annihilated us. Okay, Ana Capeta and Raquel Fernandes specifically buried us. Okay, they scored we lost 3-0. Second time we played them, we lost 1-0, but we were much better. Okay, the third time we beat them in the League Cup final. That's one cup that did complete last year. And the fourth time was the historic 3-0 thumping we gave them in Alvalade at the end of the season, and I'm still beaming from ear to ear about that one. So I'm looking forward to that match. Like I said, I'll have that DVR rolling, and I'll be covering that match for you at some point next weekend, okay? Now I'm going to take the break here. And for those of you listening to the audio form on the podcast, thank you for joining me tonight. I'll be back with episode 122. If you're watching the live feed, it's coming your way right now because this is a double episode. But if you're listening to the podcast, don't forget www.mrbenfica.com. Okay, go there, check it out. All the episodes are there, videos are there. Check it out. I'm going to start doing some write-ups again. Hopefully my work schedule slows down. I'm now officially on vacation. I'm on holiday from about an hour ago, or when I started this show, until Tuesday the 31st. So yeah, that's all I get, people. Those of you outside the United States, after 5 years in one company and 10 in the other, that is my vacation this year, 1 week, a Tuesday to a Tuesday. So I'm going to make the most of it. I'm getting in the car Wednesday. I am putting my little guy in the back seat, and we are going down the coast. We're going to Virginia Beach. I can't wait. So I'm psyched that the men's team is playing Tuesday and not Wednesday. However, I'm dumb enough to have forgot that for a moment, and I scheduled my rental car pickup for 5 p.m. my time, which is just when extra time would be kicking off against PSV if there is extra time. Okay, But enough about that. I'll see you next time. If you're watching, just stay right there. We'll be right back. This is Mr. Benfica. I am the Mr. Mike Agostinho, and I'll be right back. What's up, Benfica Nation? Welcome to episode 122. Mr. Benfica here on the PTB Media Network. What's up to everybody watching live on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, please go right down there. You can't see my hand because of where I position the camera, but right down there in the right corner of your screen, low right corner, hit the subscribe button. If you're new, if you're watching or listening for the first time, welcome. I am your host, the Mr. Mike Agostinho. Follow me on Twitter at Mike Agostinho. That's at MikeAgostinho. And follow the show at Mr. Benfica on or at Benfica Mr. On Twitter. We're up over 800 followers now on Twitter for the show. Let's get that to 1,000. Why don't we? So please follow the show, share it. Okay. And a big welcome to everybody here joining me. And if you're joining for the first time, welcome. This is Mr. Benfica, an English language podcast about Sport Lisboa Benfica. I just talked for an hour about the women's team. This second hour now tonight is about the men's team and our match this week, round 2 of the Liga Portugal B-Win. Gil Vicente versus Benfica at the Estádio Cidade de Barcelos up north. Once again, one of our many trips this year to the Minho province of Portugal. City of Barcelos, to be exact, and you all know what the mascot of Barcelos is. I'm not going to use the word in English, but you know what it is. That's right. It's Benfica come in riding some good form. It's definitely good string of results for Benfica coming in. Okay, I'm going to pull that up for you to start it off. Benfica coming in with 5 straight victories to start this season, okay? 5 difficult victories to start this season. 2 against Spartak Moscow. Wins over, I said round 2. This was round 3, excuse me. Wins over Moreirense. Win over Aroca. A win over PSV. And having watched PSV, I'm going to tell you this right now. I've been watching a lot of PSV's matches. I've gone back and found them. Thank you, ESPN Plus, for having the Dutch Eredivisie and Paramount Plus for having the Champions League. I've watched a lot of PSV's football now. They are good. The fact that we won that first leg last Wednesday can't be underestimated. They are good. They're better. I'm going to say this right now. This is a hot take. This may offend. But they are better than any team in Portugal. They are better than any team they are better than Sporting right now, at least offensively. And shout out to Dave. There he is. He's just doing the homework. He likes it. I always do my homework, Dave. Football's almost like an addiction for me. I can't get enough of it. So you give me a reason to go watch some obscure league, I'm all for it. I mean, I've spent, I don't know how many hours I've spent. The Parking the Bus podcast is literally because of my obsession and my addiction to this sport. It's the only reason I pick some of the most obscure leagues to cover, because no one else is talking about them, and I love to find them and watch them. I've been following the Brasileirão all night as well, and the Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana, the Australian A-League. I love it all. So, yes, it is exciting to get to watch these games. This PSV team is scary. The fact that we won that game needs to be recognized, that we don't have as, at least offensively speaking, I don't think we have as good of a roster as they do. We're better in the back than they are, which is the total opposite of what we usually face. We usually don't see ourselves as the better defensive team of the two. But, yeah, I mean, tomorrow when we take on PSV, that's going to be absolutely intense, to say the least. PSV are very good. They're going to be playing at home. They're going to be motivated. And watching how PSV ran over Ajax in that Dutch Super Cup, Benfica need to be very, very careful in the early going. I've seen fans tweeting and saying, go for it. No. That's what Ajax did. You're going to get caught out. You're going to get... The last thing you need is to have your lead erased inside of the first 10 minutes. Let the match find a rhythm. Let the match find a flow. And if you're interested, my plan is to go live tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern time here in the United States. That is 7:30 in Portugal. Half hour before the match kicks off. I believe that, yes, the match kicks off at 3 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock in Portugal. So 25 to 30 minutes before kickoff, I'm going to go live and do the first pregame show of the year because I'm not working tomorrow. So that's what I'm doing. All right, so tune in on wherever you watch this, whether it's on the YouTube, on Twitter, or on Facebook. Okay, I will be live tomorrow sometime between 2:30 and 2:35 p.m. Eastern time. That's the plan, at least. If it falls through, I will tweet that out. But we'll talk about PSV then. Okay, let's talk about Gil Vicente Benfica here in Barcelos. Gil Vicente comes out with the 4-3-3 for their manager, who always gives us a hard time, Ricardo Soares. When he was manager of Moreirense, it was the same thing. This guy gives us a hard time. Always well organized. His teams are always well organized. This was no exception. The goalkeeper, Stanislav Kristiuk, that my buddy there at Goal TV, Nino Torres, shout out to Nino. Him and I were exchanging some tweets during the game. Again, this is kind of becoming one of my hobbies, is distracting him while he's calling the match for Goal TV in English. But he just called him Stan. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to call him Stan tonight, this goalkeeper. The four in the back, Zé Carlos is on the right. Lucas Verissimo is in the center along with Ruben Fernandes. And Tolosha is the left back. And I'm going to say right now, Tolosha was one of Benfica's best players in this match. Why? It may have been the only thing he did wrong all match, but he left Pizzi onside for the shot/cross, and he left Lucas Verissimo onside for that goal. That, if not for that, it was going to be if we drop points in this one, I mean, it would have been devastating. And Dave is saying that, yes, Ricardo Soares does have a good group of players over at Gil. I like this team a lot, actually. I like this Gil Vicente team a lot. Like I said, well organized, but there's some skill in there too. We'll move to the midfield. Pedrinho, Carvalho, and Fujimoto. There's some good skill in that group. And when they're in space and when they have the ball, they can play with it. They're more than just sitting with deep lines. Okay. They do play a bit. We were fortunate that the stadium was pretty much all our fans. Okay. So you had that la 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 Benfica all game, keeping us on our toes. It looked like it was hot out. It did look hot. Interestingly enough, no cooling break like the women had in Sarajevo when it was, less than 80 degrees Fahrenheit in Sarajevo for their game, and they had played a few hours before this one. The attacking line also for Gil Vicente is also a very, very good attack line for a team of this caliber. They are well run, and I think that I don't remember if I saw this on Canal 11, if it was on BTV after the match in the post game, or if it was in the pregame. But Gil Vicente are a very well run team. Now, remember, they were brought back to the first division through the courts. Okay, through I don't know if you want the administration, the the court of arbitration for sport in Portugal. Okay, they were wrong. It was ruled they were wrongly relegated. They didn't come up one level. They came up 2 levels last season, or the season before, 2 seasons ago, with the late great Vitor Oliveira as their manager. Since that day, they have been so well run. They are not a team that, and this needs to be commended, because this is not the norm in Portugal and in Portuguese football. Their players get paid every month. There is no worry that they're not going to be paid. Their manager gets paid every month. The team pays their bills. They own their stadium. Okay? Their stadium is multi-use stadium, which is important. They can hold festivals. They can hold concerts. They can hold rugby matches, whatever. They have alternate streams of revenue from a small city like Barcelos. And this is a really well-run club, and it needs to be noted. It needs to be applauded. So I'm going to applaud that right now, that this Gil Vicente, watch for this team. They're going to be a tough. Listen, our rivals are all going to have a hard time going to Barcelos to play them this year. If they keep this group together and someone doesn't come in and poach players from them, this team could be very, very difficult. And they could be pushing up near one of those UEFA Europa Conference spots. I don't doubt it for a minute. Here's their attacking 3. Murilo down the left, Samuel Lino on the center, and Bilal down the right. These are all players that have experience in this league. We've seen them with a couple of clubs. And Dave is also saying here, making a good point. And yes, losing Lawrencey killed us last year. We lost to them at the Stadio de Luz. We lost to them last year. Lawrencey had 2 goals. And Nino, my buddy there at Goal TV, said in that game, if you remember, Gil Vicente won 2-1. Lawrencey scored 2 goals. And Gil Vicente scored an own goal. So they scored all 3 goals. That's the only reason it was even that close. Lawrencey is a very, very good player. And that also helped Benfica out a lot that he was not there, because that guy gave us headaches. He's a very, very good player. Benfica, however, come out in the 3-5-2. I saw people wanting the 4. Guys, I don't think we're going to see much of a 4-man back line. Our outside backs don't defend well enough. People say, well, we only have 3 center backs. Well, no. I truly believe this, okay? And I'm not the first one to say this, so I'm not taking credit for this. But I think André Almeida's role going forward, unless it's an emergency, is not as a wing back. That's really not in his wheelhouse. André Almeida is going to become that backup right center back, in my opinion. And he's going to log minutes at right center back. And here's why. Because Otamendi is going to need rest. Whether we win or lose tomorrow, we're either going to Champions League or we're going to Europa League. We're going to have midweek matches. I can see a situation where if Otamendi hasn't had an offseason. Keep that in mind. The season ended. He went to Argentina. He played 2 World Cup qualifiers. He went and played Copa America. He came back. Copa America ended, and like a week later, he was in training. He didn't take as long as a layoff as the others, because we had these very important Champions League qualifiers early in the season, and we needed him. He's a guy we can't afford to come in late. So at some point, Otamendi is going to need rest. What's going to happen, in my opinion, if I'm Jorge Jesus, and I'm not Jorge Jesus, but what I see and what I would do, and what I would advise my manager to do if I'm in the role I used to, try to earn a living in as the number 2, as the first assistant. It's when Otamendi needs rest, Lucas Verissimo slides into that deep-lying center role, and André Almeida plays the right center back role. Okay, Morato and Vertonghen have the left center back role. So now we have 5 for 3 positions. I really think that's where we're going. I have been told by someone, I'm not going to say who, an unnamed source right now, but I have been told and been privy to some information. I may be right, I may be wrong, so I'm not gonna say who said this, but there's a good chance that Gustavo Gomes is on his way to Benfica, possibly. Benfica are looking at Gustavo Gomes, who plays in the Brazilian league. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, he plays for Palmeiras. I cover that league, and I should know. Yes, it is Palmeiras. He plays for Palmeiras. He plays for Abel Ferreira. And I do believe that JJ is a big fan of his. And we know JJ loves the Brazilians in the Brazilian league. He's not Brazilian. He's Paraguayan, but he plays in the Brazilian league. If he comes, that's 6, okay? That's two different sets of 3. We'll see what happens with Moratu. I have another question here from Dave. I'm going to hit that in 1 second, Dave. But I don't see us going to a 4-man back line because we can't defend wide. We just can't. Again, watching Grimaldo does a lot of good things going forward. Watching him try to defend is painful. Diogo Gonçalves down the right is not a good right. I mean, if we go to 4, then you're going to play 4 center backs across the back. And we don't want to do that unless you want to keep leaking goals down our flanks like we've done for the last 18 months. Let's get to Dave's question here. He says, will I see a 3 center back set with Moratu, Vertonghen, and André Almeida at any point this season? I think that's very possible also with Moratu playing central if that happens. And I think that's who would go central. We'll see what happens when the fixture congestion goes. Again, if we go to the Europa League, I think there's a very good chance you see that trio there at some point in the Europa League, League Cup, competitions like that. Or if, yellow card substitutions start to pile up. Otamendi gets a yellow card almost every time he plays. So you can almost count on having him miss one of every 6-7 matches because it takes 5 yellow. Well, 5 the first time, then it's 4, then it's 3. And he had 15 cards last match. Whether they're deserved or not, it's not really. I'm not gonna debate that right now. I'm counting on him missing action due to yellow card accumulations. Okay, and Dave makes a good point there with Moratu, Vertonghen, and André Almeida. I think that's very probable. At some point, you will see those 3. I've been told also we're in the market for a right back and a left back. I'll believe that when I see it, okay? I haven't seen us spend money in that position. Our idea, shout out to Ruben Paj. I was talking to him today in a private Facebook chat, direct messaging. And we were talking about how Benfica's idea of going to get a right back and left back is to get a forward or a midfielder who's almost good enough to play and convert them. Gil Dias, again, I talked about this in the first segment when we talked about the women's team. Gil Dias, you can go back in time, okay? Diogo Gonçalves, obviously. But go back to Miguel. Go back to Fábio Coentrão, João Pereira. Who remembers Melgarejo, the Paraguayan striker that JJ in his first stint said, that's my left back. Melgarejo. We have a long history. Nelson Semedo. There was another Nelson, just Nelson. His name was Nelson, a Cape Verdean winger that we turned into a back. We have a long history of taking attacking players and lining them up at wing back. I feel like that's going to continue to be Benfica's MO. Although I had a good chance yesterday to watch the B team play, and I really like Felipe Cruz. Okay. I really like that kid as a right wing back. I remember I liked him a lot in the UEFA Youth League a couple seasons ago when Benfica went to the final. He was a big part of that team. And it's great to watch the growth of these players in that team too. Him, Luis. Sorry, is it Luis or is it Philippe? Philippe Luis, I think is his name. Anyway, Felipe Cruz. That's the name I'm thinking of. He played very well, okay? You've also got Gonçalo Ramos and Enrique Araújo who are in that team. Now you see them growing up. The guy we just offloaded, Thiago Araújo, who just went on loan to Aroca, was in that team. He's a very good player that can play as a left defender or as a right forward. There's a lot of these young guys coming through, and I don't know. I could talk about the Lucas Waldschmit thing right now before I get into the match. We knew before the match Lucas Waldschmit was on his way out, or we had a good idea. In the broadcast on Goal TV again in English, Nino Torres talking about him as a great substitute. So that's when I pulled out my phone here and I tweeted him and I said, Nino, Waldschmit is gone. Waldschmidt's going back to Germany. We're going to sell him. That's why he's not there. He didn't even travel. And 10, 15 minutes later, he addressed this on the broadcast, which, strokes my ego a little bit when he shouts out. He mentions Mr. Benfica there on Goal TV, and he says that he looked into it or had somebody look into it for him at Goal TV. And indeed, yeah, he even mentioned the journalist that reported it, that he was going to Wolfsburg or whatever. And, or Werder Bremen, I don't remember. He was going to one of the green W teams in Germany. And, I don't like that sale. I said this in the preseason episode. And I think I said this at the end of last season. I'm disappointed in Rui Costa right now with this, and in in our new sporting director Braj, but it tells me something when they sold this kid. Okay, I had said I didn't want to see any of these young players, Gonçalo Ramos, even Jota, Florentino, Lucas Waldschmit, Darwin Nunez. I don't see any of them sold this season when JJ's only got 1 year left on his contract. We know JJ's prejudices, and I don't mean that in a derogatory term. We know his preferences. We know what he likes, what his favorites are. Okay? And young players don't fit in very often in his plans. Okay? The fact that Gonçalo Ramos is getting as many minutes as he is a testament to how hard he has worked for this manager. Okay? But we know JJ does not necessarily like to trust these kids. I would have said that as a principal, I would not sell any of these kids while JJ is manager. Loan them all out if you have to. Bring them back next year. Let the new manager decide if he has use for them. Because reality is when JJ is gone, the next manager is going to be expected to use the academy again. We cannot commit financial suicide by spending this kind of money on the market every single year, no matter what we do in sales. Now, we just sold Lucas Waldschmit at a loss, and this is a kid I think has a ton of promise. This season, when he plays, he's involved in the goals. He's either in the goal or he gives the assist. I said this in the last episode. He puts himself in the right... Yes, it's a tap-in, but it's because he put himself in the right position to tap it in. Now he's gone. Okay, now he's gone. Now we got to find that production somewhere else. Now we sold him at a loss, a slight loss. What that tells me is that the situation financially at the club is worse than they're leading on. I won't be shocked if we find out at some date in the future that LFV stole even more money than we realize. Because there's no way we needed to sell anybody at a loss right now. If there's too many players in the lineup, and yes, he's used as a second forward, was brought in to be a second forward because when JJ came in, we signed him with the idea we were going to play 4-4-2 because JJ plays 4-4-2. Well, now we play 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, and there's no place for a second forward, right? But so he's let go. Loan him. Unless we absolutely needed that influx of cash, which is what I think. I think Benfica desperately needed to bring in cash, even if it was at a loss. We needed the cash flow. Because that's the only reason you make this decision, especially, as we know, with elections, in the future. Elections hanging in the balance. Some of you, I know, are very upset that there's no date yet. They really got to make a date. And what it looks like to me, and I don't want to believe this, but it looks like they're trying to get things really going and really build Rui Costa's popularity as president before they announce elections. I hope that's not the case because you got to do things right, okay? You have to do things right, and things have not been done right for a long time in this club. So you need a fresh start, or there's more money missing from the coffers, and they're protecting the former president maybe. Maybe they're selling off this player to put back something that was stolen and they don't want more investigate. I don't know. That's a harsh charge to make. I'm not making that accusation. I'm giving you a hypothesis of why they might have sold this player. It's not a footballing decision, in my opinion. There's no way. There's no way they take a loss on a player that age with that much upside, okay, for football reasons. No way. Anyway, that's my thought on Waldschmit. So, Here is Benfica's 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a flex. It really is. At times, it's 5 in the back, but not so much domestically. Okay, Vlaco Dimos once again in goal. There's no more goalkeeping situation. Odi is the goalkeeper. It's absolutely done. Even if JJ says he didn't make a single save that was difficult like he did on Wednesday, JJ in the post-game presser against PSV saying that he didn't even make a single save. I thought that was quite ridiculous. I don't know why he needs to put players down like that. Maybe he didn't mean for it to come across that way. He's not always the most poetic of people, so it's possible he didn't mean for it to come across that way. But Odi is the man between the pipes, and it is what it is. And I'll get into it in a little while. One thing about JJ that is frustrating me is the lack of adjustment to some of the players and some of the personnel he has selected, yet doesn't adjust a few things in the team's shape to address some of the weaknesses in the players he has selected. Anyway, the 3 across the back, the 3 center backs is, I think, our top. This is going to be our 3 center back. I'm going to say it here. I think Moratu has won this spot. I don't see Vertonghen overtaking him. Vertonghen's a great player, a great guy. Okay. He's very, very, fondly regarded by Spurs fans, by Ajax fans, by Belgium fans, even by Benfica from last season, but he was getting beat a lot. Okay. He's tired. He's older. He needs some downtime. Moratu is young. Moratu is doing just fine. And Moratu is only going to get better. I think Moratu's won this spot, to be honest with you. I could be proven wrong tomorrow. Who knows? But I think Moratu has won this spot. Otamendi in the deep lying central center back role. And Lucas Verissimo are probably our best player right now overall, our most informed player as the right center back. The right wing back, of course, is Gilberto. The left wing back is Gil Dias. A trio, it actually isn't a trio. It is a 4-man across the middle. So the double pivot in midfield in front of this back 3 is Miete and Adel Taarabt. And what else do I say about Adel Taarabt? Someone tweeted, and it was the most Taarabt thing ever in this match. There's a play where he beats a guy like he's Zinedine Zidane. And then he gives the ball completely away on the next touch. And that sums up my frustration with this player. Again, he can do some great things. He is a 5-a-side player. He's if I'm picking a futsal team, I'm picking him. Actually, I've said this. If you can't offload Taarabt and Gabriel, I say this half jokingly, throw him in the futsal team. Have them see out the rest of their contracts in futsal, because Gabriel, for one, is a perfect pivot in futsal. And Adel Taarabt as an ala, he's gonna blow by people. It's like his game. He's gonna beat people and then, either shoot or miss. But he's much more built for that. He's a street player and he's got a lot of skill, but it does not translate to an 11-a-side football match. He's tactically atrocious. I've never seen a player at this level so bad tactically. He's never in the right place. No matter who you stick as his midfield partner, he's going to have a headache covering all the holes that this guy leaves. And what happens is, the other problem is, not only is he never in position, especially defensively, is he's going to force his partner to go out of position to win a ball, to cover for him or something. Then he's going to retrieve the ball. He loves to come into the number 6's space to get the ball, too. That's the other thing about Taarabt that irritates me. He comes into Weigl's space all the time. He comes into Meite's space. And then Meite has to move out of that space, obviously. And then Taarabt gives the ball away, and there's a huge hole there for the opponent to come down. It happens far too much. Okay, I know I've criticized this player, especially on his goals and assist record. People say, well, he's really a 10 or he's a second forward. What second forward gets 1 goal and 3 assists in 3 seasons? You tell me that. With all the appearances and all the minutes he's been given. He's not. If that's his position, not at this level. So, again, he gives you 30 minutes. I don't know why you start him when he gives you 30 minutes. And to be honest, he is blocking Jedson right now, and it's starting to piss me off. Jedson is a young player with potential and with a future who's continuing to be stymied because we insist on this player playing instead of him. And to be honest, after watching the B team, I've seen all three matches of the B team this year. Because of that, Paulo Bernardo is stymied. He is being blocked. Paulo Bernardo is better than Adel Taarabt. Yes, I said it here. Paulo Bernardo is better than Adel Taarabt. Now, there's a positive of him staying in the B team and playing every match. That's a different argument. But in matches, when you're rotating the squad, when you need some fresh legs, those opportunities should go to someone else now. There's nothing more we're going to get out of this guy. Yeah, he hit the post in this one. That's the first time he's hit the post in, a long time. But at the end of the day, for me, he doesn't justify his place in this team. And I know he's got his fans out there. And when I get too into my opinion on him, I see my download rates going down. But I'm not here to say what you want to hear. I'm here to say what I feel and what I think. I'm giving my opinion based on my experience and what I've seen in locker rooms and what I have seen on touchlines. Okay, I had decades in this game. Okay, and he's just that player that for me it drives me insane. And it's just not resulting in anything on the offensive end. Grimaldo can be a horrible defender and get beat for goals, but he makes up for it at the other end of the field. He delivers balls in the final third that translate directly to goals. So if he gets beat and gives one up, there's a good chance he's going to go get it back for you. Adel doesn't do that for you. And he tires out. And when he's gassed, there's nothing more pathetic that I've seen in a first division in a top flight than a gassed out Adel Taarabt after 35 minutes. But JJ insists, so he gets to start. And up front, we get the duo of Gonçalo Ramos and Roman Yaremchuk. And I know Gonçalo Ramos hasn't scored. And I know I'm the first one to hammer home stats in these key positions. And he doesn't have the stats this season. But he's doing a lot of things well. He's doing a lot of things well. And it needs to be recognized. And all I hear is that he misses chances. Well, so does every other striker on this team. How many chances does Seferovic miss? And you want to argue for him to play instead of Gonçalo? Come on now. Yaremchuk had his misses in this one, and I think Yaremchuk's going to be a monster once he adapts to Portuguese football. Once he can kind of understand or relate to his teammates, I think he could be a monster in this league. But he misses, right? Carlos Vinicius, scores certain goals but misses other ones. And Dave's got another point here that he had a good header. Yeah, he did. Goes in 9 out of 10 times. Goalie made a great save. And this goalkeeper, Stan, he had a great game. He had at least 4 or 5 really good saves that kept it 0-0 for a long, long time. And listen, the thing with forwards, okay, and with strikers and good strikers is it's just like in basketball, okay? When someone's in a slump and their shooting is the only way to get out of a slump is to keep on shooting. Same goes in football. If you're putting yourself in the right places and you're setting yourself up to get shots, if you're hitting posts, you keep shooting. They're going to start going in, okay? And I have a lot more patience for a 19 or 20-year-old missing 7 out of 8 opportunities than I do for a guy in his prime or a guy on the wrong end, a guy pushing, what is Seferovic, 30 now? I have a lot more patience for a Gonçalo for that, okay? What that means is you use Seferovic selectively. I think these two are the two that we should be going with for the time being up front. And this way, and Everton is also in that starting lineup. I left him out. Everton playing down the left. Everton heavily criticized as well. A lot of people calling him a flop, okay? Now, Everton has got a problem, and that is that he went to Copa America, okay? He was just starting to find his form at the end of last season. He was just adjusting. The problem was he has started both seasons now at Benfica with major lag coming in. And by lag, I mean coming in, having played without any off time. Last year, he came straight from the Brasileirão into the Portuguese league. A Brasileirão that was well into their season already. Okay? He had already played some 30 matches for Grêmio last season when he started with Benfica. And it took him all season to find his form. End of the season, we saw it. We saw it so much so that Teach picked him to go to Copa America and play for Brazil. And he played. He was in that final. He was in the semifinal. He played. Time that he should have been resting, he was playing. Again, just like Otamendi, because we have these Champions League matches, he's got to hurry back. He doesn't get his full off season. Thus, he's not playing as well again. But the other problem is a systematic problem for him. And this system does not suit his game. Okay, he's playing as a left-sided forward, as a left ala, right? Left central, like he plays in the left center channel. Problem is, what I think I see, whether it's Grimaldo or it's Gil Dias, the left wing back is often moving into the space that Everton wants to go into. That's where he wants to play. So what he does is he comes into the left center channel instead and wants to cut in on his right foot a lot. And he's very good at that, but everybody knows that. And we're playing against teams, okay, and this doesn't happen in Brazil. He doesn't see this in the Brasileirão. I've watched enough of that league now for the last 3 seasons that you just don't see this mentality that you see in the Portuguese league against these teams when they drop the deeper lying blocks. They clog the middle. So Everton, as a result of being a righty on the left, more so than a Rafa, because Rafa has the speed, the pace, and I think he has a better understanding or a better comfort in what his role is in that position. He's not always cutting in. He cuts in when it's there. Everton is trying to find the back of the net. He does some good things, okay, and he's trying to find that shot. He's trying to find the form he finished last season with. The other team knows it. He's what happens every time he gets the ball, he's dribbling to where the other team has all their people. And it's always going to be difficult to get a shot off like that, okay? What it does inversely, okay, what the positive of that is that the wingback, whether it's Gil Dias or whether it's Grimaldo, has all that space down the flank for him to lay it off to. Now, we also saw a real nice back heel from Grimaldo, from Everton in this match, and he played in Yaremchuk. Yaremchuk was just a hair offside. And let's talk about that for a minute, huh? He's a hair offside, right? But very visibly offside. Our VAR tells us it's 22 centimeters. Believable. But very visibly offside. Last week, in another game, Famalicão seemingly ties the match. And when they freeze it, he looks level. Not visibly offside. Somehow the VAR tells us that was 21 centimeters. So how is 21 centimeters look completely even and 22 clearly off? I'm sorry, but they got to stop putting those measurements up because that's ridiculous. It cannot possibly be accurate. Or at least it cannot possibly be consistently accurate. There's something wrong with it because there's no way 1 centimeter makes such an obvious difference. But I'm digressing here. Let's get into this match. But that's what I think is wrong with Everton. But also what nobody's watching, finishing my thought on Everton, what nobody sees is the work he does defensively. The work he does getting back. The work he does cutting off passing lanes. Part of the reason he's not producing is because so much of his time is being spent, recuado, as we say in Portuguese, retreated. And it's leading me to think that this system is not a good fit for him. Now, he came in with a lot of promise. A few times last season, JJ slid him over to the right, and I liked him on the right because all of a sudden he's not just trying to go inside every time. Sometimes he's dribbling to the outside. Sometimes he's beating the guy and delivering good crosses. Other times it's there for it's there to go in on his left. He's not as comfortable on it, but he also opens space for other players. But I think one thing JJ has to figure out if he really wants to insist on this player, because this is his guy. And I'm a fan of his, okay? Maybe it's because I watched him play for Grêmio long enough to really like his game and watched him play for the Brazil national team long enough to like his game. JJ has to figure out where to slot him. But to me, I don't support changing the system of play to make one guy fit. So, I don't know. They're going to have to come up with something here for him. Gilles start pretty well, actually. And we move into the 15th minute, and they have a real good opportunity here. A left-footed shot from outside the box by Fujimoto, and he had been set up by Vitor Carvalho, and it was a nice save from Audacy in the bottom right corner. A minute later, Benfica get their opportunity. Right-footed shot from outside the box. Roman Yaremchuk, set up by Everton. Everton setting up a lot of guys, too. It may not look in the eye test like he's doing a lot, but when you go through the events of the match, you see just how involved he was in a lot of things. His shot from the outside, though, was blocked by the very well-positioned Gil Vicente backline. Gonçalo Ramos with the header that Dave was talking about here in the 19th. He misses after he gets on the end of a really nice cross. Great save by Stan. And it's Everton's turn to have an opportunity in the 20th. Right-footed shot from the right side of the box, saved in the center of the goal. Gonçalo Ramos doing well to set up his teammate there. Lucas Cunha goes in, or Lucas Ferringien. They say they use both Lucas Cunha and Ferringien here as his name. He goes in the book for a foul on Everton. The 23rd, 25th, Otamendi with a header, misses just left. He gets on the end of a cross from Gilberto following a set piece situation. Murilo with the chance. Murilo Souza of Gil Vicente, left-footed shot from outside the box, but high and wide, set up by Samuel Lino. Fujimoto wins a free kick on the left wing in the 29th, brought down by Lucas Verissimo. Moving on. Yaremchuk with another opportunity in the 33rd minute. This is off the flick from Everton, but he mishit it. He's just a hair too high. But this was maybe the first Yaremchuk moment where you're like, he puts himself in good position, does everything right, but the body is a little off balance. He ends up sending it too high. Gilberto goes in the book in the 44th minute. And we move to halftime. It's 0-0 coming out in the second half now. And it is Gonçalo Ramos again now with the left-footed shot, this time from the right side of the box, bottom right corner, but saved again. Another nice save from Stan, the goalkeeper for Gil Vicente. In the 47th, Gil Vicente get their opportunity. João Talocha, left-footed shot from the left side of the box, but it was blocked by Nico Otamendi. Corner subsequently conceded by Moratu, but in the ensuing corner, Fujimoto called for a foul on Everton on the corner. An attempt is missed in the 51st minute by Everton. Right-footed shot from outside the box, and he misses left after Gil Dias found him into some nice space. Another very good game, in my opinion, for Gil Dias. I like this kid. I think he's coming along real nice. I like seeing the progression he's had at that position, and I think he's playing very well for a kid who is being converted from a right attack-minded player to a left-sided defensive player. Now, when he's getting the ball on the left, of course, his instincts. He's a lefty, so instead of coming inside like we use so much with the inverted wingers in the modern game, he's beating guys to the outside and then delivering crosses. At no point when Gil Dias, and I know Grimaldo scores a worldie in this one, but at no point when it's Gil Dias in instead of him, can you honestly say, we're really missing Grimaldo right now? Maybe missing him a little bit going forward, but Gil Dias goes forward well also. And if Gil is not better than him defensively, the difference is not even noticeable. Gilberto gets an opportunity in the 54th, left-footed shot from outside the box, but That one gets blocked. Again, Gonçalo Ramos finding a guy in space. So JJ goes to the substitutes bench with his patented triple substitution. He loves to bring in the multiple subs, not just 2. It's got to be 3. We saw 4 last week in the Champions League. But he brings on André Almeida for Gilberto, Pizzi for Yaremchuk, and João Mario for Adel Taarabt. So obviously more of a 3-5-2 now versus a 3-4-3. Pizzi playing as kind of a second forward, but you know his tendency is more as an attacking midfielder. Leaving Gonçalo as the lone striker here for a bit. But the key in this one is João Mario coming in. Now, if you had told me I've already said what I thought of this signing at the time and what I think of it now, right? And João Mario grew on me. João Mario is quickly becoming one of my favorites in this team. And I think what it is we have a team of players, right? What we've all lacked is an 8. We've talked about how we need an 8. He's literally the only 8 we have in the roster whose characteristics are exactly what you ask of that position. So what happens is, by default, we put him in, and he looks like a superstar. I'm going to be honest. I know he's good, okay? But last year at Sporting, I didn't really notice him that much. Sporting were playing well. Things were going well, and he was a good player, but he wasn't someone that stuck out. You put him in this Benfica team, and suddenly he's the key guy. Everything goes through him. He's the link up to everything we do. He's the only guy calm on the ball. He's not going to kill you with speed. He's not lightning quick, but he's highly intelligent. His mental game is way ahead of everyone else's. His vision's phenomenal, and his feet are very good. So whatever he lacks in pace and in quickness, he makes up for in just intelligence and in foot skill and just ability to create space for himself with his feet and to find that pass. And this was a heck of a signing. This was one hell of a signing for Benfica because it's something we didn't have in the team, as you can see. And he was given a rest, comes in on the hour mark, finally puts us out of our misery, puts Adel out of his misery, as Taarabt's day is done at 57 minutes as he was sucking wind the entire second half. João Mario, without his normal companion, his normal midfield partner of Julian Weigl in this one, but showed quickly he can combine just as well with Mete. Mete looks like a monster. I mean, Mete gets that much better, as does any midfielder, when your partner goes from being Taarabt to being João Mario. Suddenly, it's like you got an extra player. And I don't mean to keep throwing dirt on Adel Taarabt and to be insulting or anything, but you can just see the way everyone around gets better when you replace him, and especially when you bring in the quality of a João Mario. But in the 59th, it is Gil Vicente with the opportunity. Murilo gets a ball from Tolosha. He goes down the left side, and his shot is saved in the bottom left corner. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the play where he gets in behind. And this is a play I put in my memory right away. And this is something that aggravates me about Jorge Jesus, okay? And again, let me preface by saying I think he's done a phenomenal job this season so far, or he's done a good job this season so far. I think he's done a real good job. I think his man management and his minutes, his load management, as they call it in basketball in the NBA, has been good. And nothing's backfired yet, okay? All the squad rotation has worked out. These matches have been tough. The team is tired. You can see it, okay? This wasn't by any means a spectacular performance. You're not going to get that right now in this phase of the season when you're playing every 3 days. Right now, it's about survival. It's about accumulating points and getting to that international break, okay, at the end, when we get to September. But one thing I don't like, and we know, listen, we all know Benfica have no pace at the back, right? Verissimo's got some. But as a unit, they don't have much pace at the back. And that became evident in this play, if this is the one I'm thinking of, where Otamendi's on his horse doing everything he can, and he's got no pace to stay with Murilo. He manages because Otamendi is smart enough in a very Giorgio Chiellini way, okay? He runs the correct angle to make up for his lack of pace, and he's able to get there just in time to just in time for Murillo to probably hear his footsteps. I don't think he accomplishes anything more than Murillo hearing his footsteps, but it's enough to push Murillo to an angle wide enough where it makes the save very comfortable for Odysseus. However, JJ, you have to stop playing such a high line, because once you lose the ball, it's very easy to put the ball in behind our back three and let their strikers outrun Otamendi, outrun when Vertonghen is there or Moratu is there. The pace is not there. To make it worse, we all know we have a goalkeeper in Odivaco Dimos, who we've now seen. There's no one that can argue that he's not the starting keeper in this coach's mind, okay? So, JJ, you have selected, you have decided that Odi is your goalkeeper for whatever reason, and I back it because he's done. But you know he cannot come out. You play a high line, and this is why I know JJ wants a goalkeeper that can play with his feet. That's why Diego Alves at Flamengo was so crucial for him in playing the game he wanted. You need a guy who can play as a sweeper keeper when you want to play that high of a line. That's not Odi. That's not Odi. And what happens is you have tons of space to run into and to use the pace to get in behind our back line. And like I said, Otamendi, using his intelligence, doing a Chiellini. And why I use Chiellini is because I've seen him up close and personal when I saw Benfica play Juventus. And I ended up just studying Chiellini's movements for much of that first half because he knows he's slow, but he knows the angles. And he does not waste a single step running anything but the perfect angle, the shortest distance. Otamendi does that here just enough so that Murillo hears his footsteps and he forces the shot. And Odi makes a nice save. Now, Odi, between the pipes, is good. I don't think anyone doubts that. He's as good. If he can see it and he can square his body and he can dive for it, he is going to save most of them. When he has to come out, when he has to run, when he has to come out and field a cross, it's a whole different story. Another reason why your back line can't be that high. You need them to be able to sink and to defend the cross quickly and get on the, around the penalty area so that we have three center backs there ready to win the cross. If you're playing them that high up the pitch, early crosses can kill us because we have a goalkeeper that's not good at coming out to get them, and we have a back three that's not quick enough to get back to defend them. I would like to see that tweaked. I would like to see JJ tweak that a little bit. I would like to see, I'll talk about this tomorrow when I go live before the game. I'd like to see the line of confrontation dropped a little bit and the back line, not far off of our box, okay? Where we set up defensively. I know they're going to have to move forward when we have the ball, but where I like to see them set up is further back. All right, moving forward, it's still 0-0. 63rd minute, Gonzalo with another opportunity, a header from very close range. And this might have been the one this may be the one Dave was talking about. This forces a nice save again from Stan. This is the one, actually, because I remember João Mario delivering a fantastic cross once he comes in. And he puts it right on Gonzalo's head, but it is saved. Fujimoto goes into the book in the 66th. And he's then substituted by Ricardo Soares. Emmanuel Hackman comes in, and Kanya Fujimoto is done for the day. Pizzi with an opportunity in the 70th. He's set up by Mete. Mete coming along, like I said. I think once he's hitting his form, and like Yaremchuk, once he knows his teammates' movements, and he understands more of the methodology of what Benfica are trying to do, he's going to be a lot better. And I really think, especially, maybe we'll see this tomorrow. I would do this tomorrow, but I don't know that JJ is going to do it. But at some point, especially if we go into the Champions League, which is still a tall order, but if it happens, I think the midfield is Mete behind, playing as a 6, behind João Mario and Weigl. That's, I think, our best midfield that is going to protect that center of the pitch, and you got two guys that can distribute well. Mete also good at distributing the ball. I think we'd be very dynamic with those three playing as a triangle in midfield. We'll see if it happens. But here it is Pizzi, the right-footed shot from the center of the box, close, but he misses right, set up by Mete with a headed pass following a corner. And then some substitutions, another double substitution for JJ here in the 71st. On comes Grimaldo, off comes Gil Dias, like for like, and then Darwin comes on for Everton. So this tells me that JJ saw what I saw last season, that Darwin is not a striker and that he needs to play down that left center channel. The problem is Darwin's not ready to play. It was obvious within minutes. Okay, he's coming off of surgery, and there's a comment on the screen, if you can see it, from my cousin Nelson there, a strong Sportingista. I talk all the time about my family of Lergach, and here's one of them, and a great guy, though, and he still can't get over João Mario in red. I'm still getting used to it too, bro. I'm still getting used to it. I like it, but I'm still getting used to it. In fact, I think now that Waldschmit is gone, they should put the number 10 jersey on João Mario personally. But getting back to Darwin Nunez, okay. And Dave, if you're still in there, Dave and I were talking yesterday a bit. I think it was yesterday. We were exchanging messages on Twitter, and we were talking about Darwin. He was interested in my thoughts on Darwin, and I said, I think what I see, and again, I have a perspective that's different. Okay, fans that watch the matches on TV, and I'm not discrediting fans, but Darwin is a player that reminds me of many I've worked with. Okay, obviously he's way better than anyone I've worked with, but you know what? The difficulties he's having at his level relative to the difficulties I've seen players at levels I've worked at. The expectation on Darwin is through the roof. Okay, that's the first problem. Darwin has had no role and no fault in his transfer rate. Okay, yes, it was inflated. We overpaid. That's because we had just sold João Felix, and everyone knew we just made 180 million or whatever we made. Okay, Darwin is not at fault that João Felix was sold for a record fee at the time. Darwin came from the Spanish second division. Now, imagine for a second, Darwin's last name was not Nunez and it was Nunes, and he came from the Portuguese second division. Let's say Benfica signed him from, let's say they signed him from Mafra, okay? And I'm not saying that the Spanish second division is obviously a higher level, but let's just add some context. Let's say Mafra has a guy, or if you don't want to say Mafra, say, I don't know, say, who's down there, right? Say, I'm thinking of the teams that are the top in the league. Académica. Oh, let's go with Académica. Let's say we got him from Académica instead of from Spain, from the Spanish second division. Okay. We would, regardless of the price tag, we would say, oh, this guy came from the second division. If he makes the team, that's good, right? Darwin comes from the Almeria, the second division. Yes, one of the best second division teams in La Liga 2. Okay, I get it. For a lot of money, Uruguay International, I get it. He's played for Peñarol. He's played for the biggest club in his country. One of two. Okay, I don't want to upset any Uruguayans listening that are Nacional fans. Okay, Nacional and Peñarol are the Sporting and Benfica, or the Porto and Benfica of Uruguay. Okay, Darwin came from there. Darwin has so much raw talent. Okay, and to me, I could see within the first steps he took in this match, he was not ready to play. He's coming off surgery, and the problem was he was probably cleared to play, but he by no means ready to play in a first division match against a very quality opponent. Don't tell me I'm overrating Gil Vicente right now. We'll talk in May and see where Gil Vicente is in the table. This group, if it stays together, is going to be in a good position in May. Darwin knows he's being called a flop. Darwin knows he's being called a bust. Darwin knows how much Benfica paid for him. Darwin hears all of the noise, okay? There's no way he doesn't hear it. You cannot protect a player from it. My problem, and this is what the club is not protecting him at all. Why? I mean, he's not getting any support from his teammates, okay? It doesn't look like any veteran wants to take this kid under his wing and help him out. My how much he would benefit from having a Jonas in this team. If Jonas was still on Benfica today, Darwin would be in a much better place with the team, with the fans, with the media, with the manager. Darwin is a kid that needs someone to put their arm around him, tell him to keep his head up and to keep doing his job, and things will turn around. Darwin is facing adversity he's never seen before. He's got expectations he could have never imagined when he was at Almeria. Okay, Darwin loves the badge. He has shown how grateful. He's got gratitude to play for a club that competes at the top of a league in Europe. Okay, he's not a flop. Darwin was purchased on a 5-year contract. Now, if I go buy a plot of land tomorrow, okay? If I go buy a plot of land tomorrow and I give the builder 5 years to build my house, I've used this as an investment before. I'll talk in more practical terms. If I give I sign a contract with the builder that he has 5 years to build me the best house he can, okay? Custom made. This is what Darwin is. He's a custom built house or a custom built vehicle. And you have given the builder 5 years. That's the agreement. If you don't like where the progress is after 16 months, you're going to go sell the house for less than you bought it for? Are you out of your mind? It's a 5-year investment. It's insane to me that people after 1 year and 3 matches or 1 year and 4 matches are calling him a flop because he hasn't done it yet. He's green. Everybody can see it. Everybody can see he's green. He's still new to Portuguese football because, first of all, he spent all last year until the final month playing in the wrong position as an out-and-out striker. They put the number 9 on him like he's an out-and-out striker, or like they could just make him into that out-and-out striker. I think that's really what happened. I think they saw potential in him and said, yeah, but he's not going to play on the left. He's going to play as a striker, lone striker. And he's going to be the new Oscar Cardozo. And worst of all, he came in on the heels of us not getting Edison Cavani. So you can't sign Cavani, we're going to get the next Cavani. But he's not that player. We've seen him be good when he's partnered with Gonçalo Ramos. Last year especially, coming in down the left, he's an assist guy. I saw it on Twitter. One of you guys, and listen, I like you all. Okay, I love my followers. I love my listeners, my viewers. But somebody said, a striker that doesn't shoot. Why do we have him? And he's not a striker. He has shown that. I don't care what Jorge Jesus says. I don't care what the media says. I don't even care what the player or his agent say. My eyes tell me he's not a striker. And you can tell that by the movements he makes. You can tell that by the decisions he makes, by what he wants. His instinct is to find somebody in position. His instincts are to get out on the left, win the ball, beat a guy, and look for somebody to give the ball to. That's not a striker. You can't just make a striker. So A, he's not a striker. B, that's why he's looking to pass. He wants to set people up. Now, if you went and got a setup guy and you spent a record fee for a setup guy that you think you can just make into a goal scorer, that's on Benfica. That's not on Darwin Nunez. And I will defend Darwin Nunez on this platform, on this air, as long as I need to, okay? Now, if they play him in his role and he doesn't evolve, that's a different story. And it looks like JJ's starting to understand that because he's lining him up further on the left and coming in. And I think he was trying to recover that magic from last season. I forget where we were playing. We were in those hideous black kits. But Darwin came in and set up 2 Gonçalo Ramos goals in like 5 minutes last year. That's what he does well. You can see that that's what he does well. That's what he's looking to do. But you're blinded, everybody blinded by the transfer fee. that you're pigeonholing him into this striker goal-scoring role that he's just not equipped to fill, in my opinion. But he's so young, and he can develop into that. Dare I remind you, at Darwin's age, Cristiano Ronaldo was not a goal scorer. Dare I remind you. At his age, Cristiano Ronaldo was an out-and-out winger that whipped in crosses, that dribbled, that over-dribbled, that did fancy things and got kicked. That Sir Alex Ferguson had to take his time in mold. They didn't call Cristiano Ronaldo a flop in his first season at Old Trafford or in his second season at Old Trafford. And his numbers weren't that good then. He didn't even start sometimes. But now you have an expectation of this kid because you decided to overpay for him. Or I should say, because your club decided to overpay for him. Our club decided to overpay for this guy because they're playing poker and hoping that this guy is the future's bet and that he's going to deliver and they're going to get a record fee for him later, which they still might. But you're getting impatient. And Benfica have shown impatience with young players that's starting to infuriate me. Because now we overspend to bring them in, and then we undersell them because we lose our patience. Lucas Waldschmit, case in point. Maybe the player wanted out. It's true. You know, Mario on BA After 90 last night or Saturday, whenever they last went live. I watched it last night. Shout out to Benfica After 90, by the way. But shout out to Mario up there at m.slb. Made a great point. Luca came to Benfica as a German national team player. And now is not starting, and he needs to get back. And he may have wanted his way back to Germany to play in front of his new national team coach in a team where he can play. It's all possible, and it wouldn't surprise me either once Mario put this out there if he comes out in the weeks to come and says he was really unhappy at Benfica. I think there's a language barrier, and Benfica should be getting coaches that can speak English at the very least, so that you can communicate to some of these players. I mean, we've seen Taarabt translating for Yaremchuk. I mean, you know, and Yaremchuk speaks very good English, but Jorge Jesus does not. I'm hoping someone on his staff does. But you've seen it. You have seen Yaremchuk, you know, be instructed by Taarabt, who's standing between JJ and Yaremchuk translating for him. And what Taarabt understands of JJ, I don't know, because Taarabt, after 5 years, is still giving interviews only in English. Well, he could do it in French as well. But he's not giving interviews in Portuguese, so I don't know what he could possibly understand to be translating. There's a communication problem there. Anyway, back. So Darwin comes in for Everton. I go way off the case there, and he doesn't look good. Okay, right away, he's not ready. He's not fit. Just because he's not hurt anymore does not mean his fitness is where it needs to be to play first division football against a top 8 first division side. Okay. Now in the 74th, we get a yellow card to Stanislav Krishuk, the goalkeeper, for wasting time. Bilal wins a free kick for Gil Vicente after he's fouled by Muratu in the 75th. Nothing comes of it. Another attempt for Benfica in the 75th coming off of that, and it is Andre Almeida getting on the end of a ball from Meite. Andre Almeida streaking down the right side, gives an effort. He has a right-footed shot from the right side of the box, but high and wide. I think it was meant to be a cross, to be honest. Fatma was being generous, calling it a shot. 78th, Gil Vicente sends on Mateus Bueno for Bilal, and Bilal comes off. He's given Benfica trouble in the past today, or in this one, Benfica do well to hold him off. Pizzi has a right-footed shot attempt blocked in the 83rd, but leads to a corner kick. And in the 83rd, finally, it is broken. The deadlock is broken. It's a corner kick that ends up getting cleared and sent back out way to the left where Pizzi is collecting it. Pizzi takes a touch central, fires on goal. This is not a pass, and I'm a big Pizzi defender because of things like this, okay? He can have 10 straight lost balls, just like Adel Taarabt. The difference is Pizzi finds his way to put his name in the score sheet every time he plays almost. He either gets a goal or an assist, even on a play like this where his shot turns into a great pass. But it is Pizzi shooting, and the ball falls right to Lucas Verissimo, the goalie, had already dove because of the shot, and thus makes a nice, easy tap in off the left foot of Lucas Verissimo. Now, this is hilarious to me because this is Portuguese VAR at its best. For the next 5 minutes and 45 seconds, we watch. Sorry, 4 minutes and 45 seconds. We watch this referee stand there like this. And again, going back to Goal TV and to Nino Torres calling the game, saying, what are they talking about? What are they watching? It was it took 10 seconds to see that Verissimo was onside. Tolosha kept him onside. Number 31 for Gil Vicente kept him onside. Once I saw it once, and they're still looking. And then Nino guesses that they must be checking the pass that went out to Pizzi wide on the left. They show that. And you can see Tolosha still leaves Pizzi onside on that play as well. Tolosha in backtracking after he had come out of the area. This is what happened. Corner kick was sent in. It was cleared partially. Tolosha came way out, as you do when you defend a corner kick. Comes out. Now he's retreating because the ball's been knocked back to Pizzi. In his retreat, he runs so hard that he passes Pizzi and puts him onside. Okay? And continues to go past Verissimo and put him onside. So thank you, Tolosha. Benfica get the goal here. Again, Pizzi gets his name on the score sheet. And it is another assist for the assist king and the Brazil center back, soon to be Brazil national team center back. Makes it 1-0 as he is off to a phenomenal start of the season this year. Finally, Benfica break the deadlock, but we still stand there and wait for the VAR to finally allow the goal. I'm wondering what they're doing. I saw on Twitter someone said that they must have rewound the tape all the way to the start of the second half to see if they could call something. This is what leads to conspiracy theories. This is what leads to people thinking there's fixes in matches. Portugal's never reviewed for much more than a couple of seconds, especially when they score. If they're called offside, they'll look. Or if it's disallowed, they'll look to try to overturn that. You score on Porto, there's plenty of time. They're looking. When we score, it takes an eternity for these referees to finally allow the goal. I joked in response to somebody, and I said, I wish they'd release the audio because what we would hear is the referee and the VAR official discussing where they're going to dinner or something, because that's the only thing they could possibly be talking about, because there was no offside here. 5 minutes later, 88th minute, it's 2-0. It's a whirly. It is a wonder strike by Alex Grimaldo, set up by, guess who? Gonçalo Ramos. Yes, he's not scoring, but he's doing a lot. He's getting involved. Last match in the league, he ran 13 kilometers. This one, I didn't see what his total mileage was in this one, but I'm sure it was high. He does a lot of work. He's a workhorse, and I think that's why JJ is warming up to him. In addition, of course, in combination with injuries, or conjunction with injuries. But it is Grimaldo, left-footed shot outside the box, top corner. What a bend. The guys on BA90 said that that's the goal of the year for now, and someone's got to go out and beat it. I agree. And that is Benfica winning. We'll go through the rest of the match, and Benfica, hold on. Benfica, I've been going long. Benfica win 2-0, 3 more points. Let's go to the goal point. Here, I'll bring it up and see what the player ratings ended up being in this one. And I know I'm starting to run very late. Thank you for sticking with me this long. If you watched both episodes, and if you're listening, thank you also. So here we go with the player ratings. We will start with Gil Vicente, 0.4 XG for Gil, as they would end up with an average rating of 5.0. Stanislav Krichuk with the 6.3. He was their best player, no doubt about that. Zé Carlos, 3.8. Lucas, 5.0. Ruben, 4.7. Tolosha, 5.5. Murilo, 4.8. Pedrinho, 4.7. Vitor, Vitor Carvalho, 5.2. Fujimoto, 5.1. Bilal, 4.7. And Sandrolino, 5.3. Off the bench, Hackman gets a 5.0. Benfica, another man of the match performance by Lucas Verissimo. Everyone agrees on that. Benfica with a 2.0 XG, 2.02 is their goal. Average rating of 6.18. Vlaco Dimos, 5.9. Gil Dias, 6.6. Good outing for him again, like I said. Moratu, 7.1. Very good rating for him. Second highest rate on the team. Otamendi, 6.3. Verissimo, 7.2. Like you said, man of the match. Gilberto, 5.3. Gonçalo Ramos, 6.3. Good outing for him. Mete, 6.7. Tarapt, 5.7. Everton, 6.0. And Yaremchuk, 4.9. PZ comes off the bench for 5.3. Andre Almeida, 5.4. João Mario off the bench for a 5.9. That's a good rating, especially coming off the bench. The attendance in this match also was 3,751, of which I think 3,700 were Benfica fans. Grimaldo off the bench with a 6.4, of course, and an out-of-this-world goal. And Darwin Nunez earns himself a 5.3 in the minutes he played. For as much as he's being criticized, given the few minutes he had, that's not as bad as people want it to be. Looking at the stats quickly, shots 21-5 in favor of Benfica. 7 of those on goal, meaning that 5 good saves made by the goalkeeper. 35 actions in the opponent's penalty area to 5 for Benfica. 9 corners, 87% pass efficiency, 72% of which is a vertical pass efficiency. That one means more to me. That's a good vertical pass efficiency. And again, one of my favorite stats. This really, I think, measures some work rate. Benfica win this battle as well. In defensive actions in the opponent's midfield, it's 12-8. Benfica commit more fouls. I have no problem with that. Again, that comes from the same intensity they're using to press and make defensive actions in the opponent's midfield. 62% of possession goes to Benfica. Looking at Lucas Verissimo here, you see his heat map. He loves this part of the pitch right here. And from here, he distributes like he is a central midfielder. I really like this player. He's really coming along. What a purchase he was last year. He has a goal. He has an 88% pass efficiency. And you can see there 3 steals, 2 interceptions. And 1-1 on aerial battles. Okay, let's then go to the table real quick. I'll bring the screen back here as we unshare, and I will pull up the table from SofaScore for you guys. And let's go to next week's fixtures first. While I do that, as I bring up SofaScore. Show you guys the live table as it stands right now. But first, next week's fixtures. The Liga will get started in round 4 on Friday, August the 27th. Bistad hosting Moreirense. Bistad's home pitch. Where is it? Right. It is. It looks like they are returning to the Jamor. I know they've played in Leiria already. They're kind of a club with no home. They're a little bit of a vagabond club. But Bistad opening up the round against Moreirense on Friday. And then later on Friday, Estoril host Marítimo. Next up is Saturday's matches. Sorry for that slight loss of focus there. 10:30 a.m. Eastern time here in the United States. That's 3:30 p.m. in Portugal. And there have been criticisms about these start times. At a hot part of the season, they're playing at 3:30 in the afternoon, but it is Vizela hosting Boavista. Boavista, who were 2-0 winners over Santa Clara earlier today. Then Porto host Aroca at 1 p.m. next Saturday, 6 p.m. Portuguese Standard Time at the Ladrão. And then in the nightcap next Saturday, it is Famalicão hosting Sporting Clube Portugal. And you know who we'll all be rooting for, and maybe an opportunity for our rivals to drop some points. We'll see both of them. Maybe they can drop some points. By the way, Porto, how'd you like that Bailinho da Madeira, huh? Go cry about the pitch to somebody else. You guys get away with everything, and then you cry about someone's pitch. Meh. Poor Sérgio Conceição. Poor Francisco Conceição. falling and diving and then not getting the call. Thank you, referee, for not falling for that nonsense. Saturday, we start off. We open up the round at 1 p.m. And leave it to the Liga Portugal to do this. Dave, if you're still there, I'm sorry. Liga Portugal sucks. They got Benfica playing Tondela, 1 o'clock Eastern time. All right? Hogging the TV. Obviously, the distribution is going to put the Benfica game on. And this is horrible scheduling, and I would expect nothing less from the Liga Portugal. Benfica hosts Tondela. That's what most of our listeners are paying attention to. But at the same time, you have the Derby do Minho, one of the biggest games in Portugal. This pisses me off. You play games, you start around on Friday, and you play all the way to Monday so that everyone can get on TV. But you have a big match like this, Braga versus Vitória, the Minho Derby. It's a rivalry that goes back. It's a heated rivalry. It's a good rivalry. It's good for Portuguese football. It's a rivalry that needs that exposure. It should be in its own time slot. But no. You're going to put them on at the same time as a Benfica match. And Liga Portugal, you guys suck. I'm just going to say that. Whoever makes these decisions and does the scheduling, you suck. End of story. Anyway, closing out Sunday's matches on the 29th of August next week. Portimonense host Paços de Ferreira and Santa Clara host Gil Vicente in São Miguel. And that's it. And then we are at the international break. So much needed international break for Benfica. I know a lot of them are going to go to their national teams, but at least they shouldn't be logging as many minutes as they are right now. Okay, let's go to the table. One last thing before we call it an episode tonight. Thank you again for sticking with me so long here. I'm going to put up here, courtesy of SofaScore. This will be up on MrBenfica.com in the morning. But there you see it. First place belongs to Sporting right now on goal difference. They have 1 goal more than we do. 3 victories, no draws, no defeats. 7-4, 1 against, 9 points. Benfica sharing that spot, just 1 goal behind with 6-4, 1 against. In third place right now, it is Estoril who climb and pass Porto today on goal difference. 2 wins, 1 draw, 5-4, 1 against, 1 goal better, or 1 goal allowed better than Porto. Porto in fourth right now with 7 points. Fifth place right now is Gil Vicente, 6 points, 2 victories and a defeat, 4 goals for 2 against. So those 2 we put on them are the only 2 goals they've conceded so far. Braga are 6th right now with 6 points, 2 victories and a defeat. Portimonense are also there with them, just with an inferior goal difference, or with inferior goals scored, sorry. According to SofaScore, head-to-head is the first tiebreaker. So Portimonense must have lost to Braga, and that's why they're behind them. So Braga is ahead of Portimonense. Portimonense have 6 points. So do Boa Vista, as we said, 2-0 winners today against Santa Clara. And then you have Vitória with 4 points, 1 goal, 1 loss, 1 goal. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 assist. Marítimo also 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. I think I just called Vitória's draw and assist as well. It is getting to be too late. It is 10:26 p.m. right now where I'm at. But then you got Vizela in 11th place, 1 victory, 2 defeats, 3 points. 3 points also for Paços Ferreira, Aroca, and Tondela. And then Moreirense with only 1 point right now, 15th. And then in the drop zone, right now it's Santa Clara in the playoff, the relegation playoff spot. This, of course, Santa Clara and Paços Ferreira's struggles due to their excellent performances in Europe. They both have massive games this week. So I want to use this space to wish the best of luck and to send support to both Paços de Ferreira and Santa Clara for their upcoming matches this week, and they're both, I believe, on the road. One at playing Tottenham at the Tottenham Stadium, and the other in Belgrade, taking on Slavia Belgrade. So Partizan Belgrade. So Santa Clara go to Serbia, while Paços Ferreira go to London to take on Spurs, and I'm rooting for both of you on Thursday. Forza Okay, bring it home, and let's get Portugal ahead of France in that coefficient. We're so close to becoming the fifth league, even though they're going to continue to call France one of the big five. We're so close to being fifth, the fifth highest rated league in Europe. So I'm not worried about Santa Clara yet. It's early. I think once they get through this phase, whether they advance or not, I think you're going to see them find some form in the league very, very soon. Famalicão right now in 17th, but that's only because they were robbed against Porto. 3 matches, 3 defeats, unfortunately for Ivo Vieira. And B-Sad, the Petite side, off to a dreadful start. 3 matches, 3 defeats, 1 goal, 4-6 against. Here is right now the top-rated players here on this side of the screen, if you can see it, according to SofaScore. Pedro Gonçalves Pot is the top-rated player right now with an average 7.87 rating. That's because SofaScore gives, on average, much higher ratings than does Goal Point. But here's your top scorers at this point. It is Pot on top. And here's something that's very interesting. Pot with 3 goals. Tony Martinez with 3 goals. Both of these guys 18 months ago were playing for Famalicão. Let that sink in for a minute. Just how good that Famalicão side that just missed out on Europe was in terms of talent. Lucas Verissimo, our Centralão, is there also with 2 goals, as is Carlos Jr. of Santa Clara, Andrea Franco of Estoril. The now gone Lucas Waldschmit has 2, as does Ricardo Horta, Daniel dos Anjos, Frank Navarro, and Beto, who is rumored to be headed to the Estádio do Ladrão. No surprise there. We were predicting that last season. Okay. Thank you, everybody. That's going to do it for this episode 122. Again, like I said, tune in to the normal spots, the Mr. Benfica YouTube. Make sure if you haven't yet, go and subscribe to Mr. Benfica on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter, follow the show on Twitter as well at Benfica Mister. That's where you're watching right now. If you're watching on Periscope, okay, make sure you give a follow there. And 2:30 to 2:35, somewhere in there tomorrow afternoon, or in Portugal it's 7:30, 7:35 at night. About a half hour before kickoff, I'll go live with the little pregame show, and we'll talk PSV Benfica tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Thank you for joining this marathon session. If you listened on the podcast, you got 2 episodes today, and I look forward to being with you again probably tomorrow, actually. Because I'm traveling Wednesday, there'll be another episode tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time here in the United States. So just 1 a.m. Portuguese time tomorrow. I will be live again, recapping this PSV match before I hit the road and head for Virginia Beach. So everybody have a great night. Enjoy the match. If you don't hear from me tomorrow, or if you can't tune in because you're working like a normal person, enjoy the match, and I'll be in your earbuds again very, very soon. So make sure you follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you follow, and make sure you give this show a 5-star rating so I can get it out to as many people as possible. Thank you for staying so long tonight. It's been a pleasure. This is the Mr. Mike Agustino signing out. Don't forget www.mrbenfica.com. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.